what's that thing in golf where you redo your shot?
You talking like a mulligan?
Yes. We need a mulligan on week 1.
Oh my God, we did it!
My dick is big, my dick is wide, my dick is huge.
That's right. Super Bowl, here we come.
So you're saying there's a chance?
We're ready to tear this baby up. Why? Good afternoon, football fans, and welcome to this Week 1 recap of the Trajan Temple Sportcast. I am your host, professional wrestler and Kansas City Chiefs fanatic, Christian Temple. I made sure to say my name this time because I forgot to last week, and it always happens to me. Whenever I got to make a joke about you, I always forget my own name. Christian Temple, that is my name, and not yours. Always joined alongside by my good friend, the terrible towel, the terrible towel wearing. You can't write this stuff, folks. The terrible towel twirling Trajan, and as the intro of this video kind of indicated, it wasn't a fun week for either of us this week, was it, Trajan?
You know, it started out fun for me at least. And then I got my comeuppance for bragging at the game. So, yeah, I guess I got what I deserved.
You know what, though? There's always a silver lining, though. At least you're not a Giants fan.
At least you're not a Giants fan.
Or actually, and I hate to say it honestly, too, because it sucks that it happened this way, at least you're not a Jets fan either.
Yep.
Because
Or I
holy...
could be a Cincy fan and pay my quarterback.
Cincy fan, Bills fan. Just there's so much happened in this first week, and there's a lot we want to talk about, but there's a couple items that we really don't want to talk about, which I guess is as good a segue as ever for the first edition of I Don't Want to Talk About It. And since my game was first, I guess I'll be the first one to suffer through all this. And as you can see right here, the final score, the season opener, the banner dropping, the Super Bowl celebration comes crashing down on top of us as the Detroit Lions come to Arrowhead Stadium and take care of business against my beloved Kansas City Chiefs with a final score of 21-20. And oh god, where to start with this? I guess honestly it starts with the offseason. And we can talk about this now because the holdout's finally ended. But the big offseason drama was Chris Jones. This going into the last year of his contract, he wants a long-term extension, and he wants to get paid. He wants a quote-unquote raise. Those were his words.
Yep.
He didn't want Aaron Donald money, but he wanted to be at least the second highest paid defensive tackle in the league. That was something that wasn't really quite in the cards for the Chiefs, because here's the deal. There's a lot of players that need to get paid, not this year, but next year or the year after that. So we really needed to be very careful with our cap situation here. Chris Jones did not end up playing in week 1. He sat up into the stands and watched the game with his agents, the Katz brothers, who, good God, if you could send out a casting crew for a mobster type movie, those two would be easily the first two suspects in my book for sure. Sat and watched the game. I gotta give the defense props. Without Chris Jones, they actually didn't look that bad, all things considered. They only allowed 14 points. And I know a lot of Lions fans are saying, well, that was without Jamison Williams. Well, here's the deal. You still had Jared Goff. You still had Amon-Ra St. Brown. You had, Jamar Gibbs. You had David Montgomery. You had a good offense, and a good portion of that offense was responsible for being one of the highest scoring offenses last year, especially Jared Goff. He was a big part of that. But ultimately, the biggest, the largest elephant in the room was the absence of one Travis Kelce, who had suffered a bone bruise mere days before kickoff. And it was basically a game time decision, and ultimately I think the right decision was made to have him sit out for this one. No sense making something small worse and making your situation worse for a good portion of the season. As of today, as we're recording, it sounds like he will play against Jacksonville, so good news there. But yeah. You don't have Mahomes' top target out there, so it's time for Mahomes to improvise, right? Get some young, hungry talent on the field wanting to make a name for themselves. Some of them did. Marquez Valdes-Scantling had some good catches. Justin Watson had some good catches. We had Blake Bell get a touchdown. More on him in a little bit. Blake Bell got a touchdown pass. Noah Gray made some good plays. Rashee Rice, his first catch as a Kansas City Chief, he gets a touchdown. His first catch. Imagine that. What better way to exactly at home? What better way to start your NFL career than that? The two that were very I won't say, well, you know what, they were disappointing actually, is the guy that I thought would get an opportunity in fantasy. And I'm kicking myself for that because I could have played anyone else and I might have won this week. Sky Moore. And more disappointing than that was Kadarius Toney. I mentioned earlier that the defense only gave up 14 points. As you can see, the Lions did not just score 14 points. A key pick six by the Detroit Lions on a ball that went through the hands of Kadarius Toney, getting taken to the house. And that wasn't necessarily the turning point of the game, but it was one of them.
Yeah.
I would say another turning point of the game was a key fourth down conversion that did not happen. And I'm not even talking about the 4th and 25. We'll get to that later. I'm talking about actually it wasn't even a fourth down. It was a 3rd and short. And you know what? I'll just let past me give you my thoughts on that play call on there. Take it away, me.
I didn't think anything could be stupider than Blake Bell rushing it forward, but apparently they found a way.
Yeah, I really didn't think anything would be stupider than the Blake Bell quarterback sneak. Look, it was cute 2 years ago when it worked consistently. Everyone knows it's coming now. They know Mahomes isn't going to sneak it because of that freak accident that happened in 2019. And look, I get that. Just gotta be a little more creative than that. I mean, that play call, that had Matt Canada written all over it. And Trajan knows what I'm talking about. You can say hey all you want to, but you know that was true. Of any offensive coordinator that would call that, he would be near the top, if not the top of that list. So, yes, it was a snap to Blake Bell under center, jet sweep to, you know what, I don't even know if it was Rashee Rice or Kadarius Toney. It was one of those two. I'm pretty sure it was Toney. He gets tackled for a loss, and, oh, God, that was...
It was Toney, because that was his only reception.
That's right. Because it was literally a handoff. It was put in his hands for him. Oh, God. So, all in all, this wasn't, a blowout. It was a stunner. It was. The Lions, I said it when the schedule was announced. I was afraid that this would be the 2017 home opener where Kansas City went into Foxborough and took care of business against the Patriots right after they just won a Super Bowl. I was afraid that this might be the case, and the absence of Chris Jones, the absence of Travis Kelce, the absence of Kadarius Toney's hands, those all lent a big part of that. But my hat is off to the Detroit Lions. This was their Super Bowl. They earned this victory, and they've got a share of first place in the NFC North again, alongside a surprising performance by the Green Bay Packers that apparently still, even though Aaron Rodgers is gone, they still own Chicago. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on the first game of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs. it is what it is. So on to Jacksonville next week. Time to bounce back, and you're getting your 2 of your big pieces back. So get to it, boys. Time to get that mulligan we were talking about.
So first off, this is your I don't want to talk about. Stop bringing Matt Canada into this. He doesn't need any more airtime.
We'll get to him in a second, right?
We'll get to him. But yeah, I mean, I got your subtle dig that it wasn't a blowout. I agree. I mean, it's nothing to be disappointed with. I mean, of the teams that have been hyped this offseason, the Lions have been hyped, and they showed that they're worth it. I mean, you had that pick six. They had their fumble where they were in the red zone too. So I mean, you kind of traded.
Well, like I said, I can't be upset with how the defense did without Chris Jones. That was, a gutsy performance. It's just a shame that they weren't rewarded at the end. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. That one hurts. And I believe we've talked about this before. Would you rather have a blowout or a close game where you just fail right at the end?
Man.
And I would rather have the one where you just fail at the end because we're going to talk about my I don't want to talk about it.
Shall we?
So, let's recap. As you've seen, I was over at Temple's place with my makeshift Lions hat, just gloating over him that he lost. Then I had Friday to gloat over him, and Saturday to gloat over him, and Sunday came. And, of course, everyone wants to make plans on Sunday for me, and I don't get to watch, which it was probably for the best that I didn't get to watch.
I forgot about that.
I got to watch some of it. So I am at this car show that my dad put on, and all of a sudden I get a text from my brother, our defense is trash. Okay, well, sometimes he overreacts. Maybe they just went down and scored. I look at it, it's 10-0. I'm like, okay, that doesn't look the greatest, but 10-0, I mean, it happens. Then that turned to 17-0. It just kind of escalated from there. We did have one good drive. It was a 2-minute drill in the first half, and we scored a touchdown. But it's just terrible. I mean, 30-7, worst home defeat in Tomlin's tenure.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't even know that.
Home defeat.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Kenny, he looked overmatched. I mean, he missed some targets. He threw behind receivers. I mean, that line, they were coming for him. But, it's... Yeah, he should have been able to do that at least. Defense looked sloppy, except for TJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Peterson talked crap on Brock Purdy. Proceeds to go get toasted by Ayuk, or whatever his name is. And, to all the fantasy owners of Ayuk, congratulations. My dad had him on his bench. Should have had him in. But still, I mean, I guess we didn't let Debo beat us, but we let Christian McCaffrey beat us. I mean, he had 22 carries for 152 yards.
Oof.
One touchdown, his long was 65. But he wasn't done. He said, I'm going to get 17 more yards. So he had close to 200 yards on us just by one guy. Ayuk, 129 yards. 8 targets, so I mean, it's just insane. Debo, 55 yards. George Kittle, he didn't really play that big of a factory. He had some conversions on third down, but that's about it. But TJ, he's the only bright spot, so I'll just talk about the bright spot. He made Brock Purdy fumble twice, one of which we recovered. The other one, I don't know how he held on to it. Have you seen that?
I did see the clips, yes. I went back and watched the highlights.
Oh my gosh. And which I did go rewatch the whole game afterwards. So that happened. He did have 3 sacks. He is now tied with Debo on our team for the most sacks. He just needs one more. He'll get that. He also surpassed J.J. Watt in the fastest to get to 80 sacks.
Oh, wow.
So
There we go.
he is just a little bit behind. Oh, gosh, I'm going blank on his name. It doesn't matter. He's second on the list.
There you
TJ
go.
is second.
There you go.
So I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. didn't get playing time.
Mm-mm.
Our other guy, Trice, he did not get playing time. Maybe that comes into play, but our secondary was sloppy. Good news is we lost our Pro Bowler in Cam Hayward for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, the insult to injury. And Deontay Johnson, he's also injured. So, yeah. Our rushing attack, 41 yards, 25 of which was one play.
Oh, my gosh.
So it was pretty pathetic.
Oh, man.
I mean, there's just nothing good to talk about this game.
There's
The only
nothing. There's
good part is
no.
it's
There's no
over.
happiness. Only pain in this one. Yeah.
Yeah, the only good part it's over. And we only scored in the second quarter. I mean, I guess at least we scored.
Right. You weren't shut out like a certain team from New York.
Yeah, but at home, just sloppy. It was a good team, but damn, we should have done better.
That was, if there were any doubts about Brock Purdy being ready this week, I think he shut it down with authority. I mean, as you mentioned, Kittle wasn't really much of a factor. Debo, had okay game. Brandon Ayuk really went off, and shout out to Temple Senior. I'm glad he played him in his fantasy this week, because boy, that was a wise decision for anyone that had Ayuk in this game. Yeah, he took Patrick Peterson's lunch money and made him watch him spend it. That was I don't even think a statement win is enough to describe going into Acrisure and just stomping on that defense. And as you mentioned, it wasn't that whole defense. TJ Watt definitely earned his flowers in this game because he was the only one that showed that he had any fight in him in that game. So, but this is just me going off of the highlights. I was at the fair, and I was just following along fantasy and following the scores on that too until I went back and watched the highlights. Yeah, this was very, very easily a game the Steelers players will want to forget, especially considering who they have this coming Monday night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, facing the Browns, go from getting destroyed by Christian McCaffrey to going against Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, gosh, it doesn't get easier.
It does. It doesn't. So, oh man, that was and that's just our teams. I mean, good lord, there were so many unexpected outcomes to just week one. I mean, let's just starting off the top here. I mean, you had the Cleveland Browns take down the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, granted, the Browns were at home this time, but it's just something about Cleveland for Joe Burrow that just like nothing can go right for him. And with all the talent he has around him too, the Browns just find a way. They got his number. It's insanity to me.
It is. No, it definitely is. Caveat there, it was raining. It was also raining for the Browns players too.
I heard about that. I was gonna say, like, wait, there's no way Burrow's making that excuse, is he?
No.
Yeah.
No. And he did. This was really his first action. He just checked in. It was doubtful he'd even play week one. So I will give him some benefit there, but he did play terrible.
It's definitely way too early to panic if you're a Bengals fan, honestly. But that was a for a Chiefs fan, that was a pleasant surprise, especially since a lot of Bengals fans were talking mad crap about the Chiefs losing by 1 point to the Lions, acting like the Lions owned the Chiefs in that game. But I would say a 24-3 score. Sounds more like ownage than a 21-20 score. That's just me though. But speaking of owning, there was a certain team in Green Bay that did some more owning to a division rival.
Ooh, I mean, if there's any doubt for Love, he came in and made a statement for that franchise.
Without Christian Watson, too.
Without Christian Watson, I mean, give him credit. It is week 1. We'll see where he goes from there. But if you want to make a statement as a Packers quarterback, you go out and beat the Bears week 1. Show that nothing's changed. That's just great.
You just hear the spirit of Aaron Rodgers from above. We still own you at Chicago too, which is oh man. I don't even know who is more hurt, the Bears fans or the Steelers fans, the way that ended. Or actually, you know what? We know the answer to that question. It's the Giants fans. Let's be honest here. It's the Giants fans. But before we get to them, another surprise, at least for me, the LA Rams going into Seattle and taking care of business against the Seahawks. This is not one I would have picked in a million years.
A very young Rams team, too. It's not a lot of experience on that team without Cooper Kupp.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's a divisional game. Were they at Rams? Were they at SoFi?
They were at Seahawks because a buddy of mine, Jordan, was at that game. He's a big Seahawks fan. He and his wife went to that game, and I felt so bad for him being there and seeing that live. Cause I can't remember if he said that's his first ever game seeing the Seahawks live, but I can definitely say he wanted to forget that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough place to play. I mean, it's one of the loudest stadiums, and to go in there, that's tough. Divisional opponent.
And you want to talk about a team that had little to zero expectations this year. I mean, the Rams are almost the top of that list.
Oh, exactly. I mean, they got destroyed all throughout last year. And, I mean, maybe they'll be good.
There you go.
Who knows?
Well, speaking of good, this was a good game. The Dolphins go to SoFi, and Tua Tagovailoa drives down the field, game-winning touchdown to a familiar face, Tyreek Hill. Justin Herbert has a chance to go out and earn his money, but just stalls, and it was not a fun ending for him. Dolphins take it 36-34. That was a shootout and a half, and even though I was unsuccessful in winning week 1, I am glad that I got Tua, because if he stays healthy, he could probably score me a lot of points in fantasy this year.
Now, question. Does that kind of make you scared about the Chargers and the Dolphins? You face the Dolphins this year, too.
Well, you know what? The Dolphins, I'm a little more scared of than the Chargers, honestly, because the Chargers always find a way to charge her in ways the Chargers could never charge her.
Yo.
No, it's the Chargers always seem to find a way to play the Chiefs the most competitively. I never buy into the offseason hype about them, but you don't have to buy into the offseason hype to know that Chiefs versus Chargers, whether at Arrowhead or whether at Arrowhead West, SoFi, is going to be a competitive game every single time. That's just facts.
Yeah. And to the Chargers' credit, they've actually beat you guys.
They have, yes.
Whereas the Broncos, supposedly the bigger rival, they haven't.
They have not. You are correct. And speaking of another team that the Broncos haven't beat, at least in quite a while, that streak continued at Denver. Imagine this. You had a terrible season last year. You got rid of what you thought was the problem. You got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. You go out, you get Sean Payton. Everything's fixed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. And here's the funny thing. The Raiders did not play a great game. Jimmy Garoppolo is probably still getting used to the that offense and everything too. Obviously, he's back with Josh McDaniel. That definitely helps. But he looked pedestrian at best. He did everything he needed to do, at least for the most part. But the Broncos always find a way, especially against the Raiders, to trip over themselves at the finish line, and the curse of 16 reigns again. The exact same score as last year's Week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. Denver falls 17-16 against the Raiders. And I told you this off camera a couple days ago. I really didn't care who won this game, but I thought it would be funny. The Broncos lose for 3 reasons. 1, because they got a new head coach and they're so hyped about it, they think he's the answer to everything. Number 2, Josh McDaniels, their old head coach. He goes in and takes care of business against them. And 3, it's at Denver. I mean, good God, it's always hilarious seeing the Broncos squirm, especially at their home stadium, which I have been to twice to see that happen. We'll see if the curse of 16 lasts the entire year like it did last year. Obviously, got to give a little bit of, not sympathy, but you got to feel for the Broncos a little bit. They are missing some key pieces due to injury already. But, kudos to the Raiders. You get 1 week on top. You got the AFC West. You're the only AFC West team that won last week. Holy smokes. That's so weird to say.
Yeah, but their job doesn't get easier because they have Buffalo next week.
Exactly. That'll be an interesting game, especially when we talk about Buffalo here in a couple minutes. But we won't take too much time. Shout out to Skate 3 Tommy. He told me afterwards he is not really considered becoming an alcoholic, but this game nearly sent him over the edge in that aspect. 40-0. Dallas takes care of business at MetLife Stadium. It was a massacre. It was a straight-up massacre. Special teams, defense, offense, all 3 phases. Cowboys had it all. Giants could get nothing going. Absolutely nothing. It was pretty sad to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Cowboys' offense went crazy on them. It was the defense. The defense just feasted on him. It was a raining game, so there wasn't a lot you could do with throwing the ball. What you'd think, Saquon Barkley. This is where he can show that he's worth all that money that he says he's worth. Yeah, no. 2 interceptions, plus Daniel Jones's corpse is still on that field. That was bad.
Yeah,
it was really bad.
It was awful to watch. So we won't spend any more time on that because boy, that score just speaks for itself. Man, and the Monday Night Football matchup that everyone was waiting for, and the only overtime final for Week 1, the New York Jets take down the Buffalo Bills in overtime on a walk-off punt return for a touchdown. But, I kind of feel bad for that rookie that took it to the house because no one is going to talk about that. All that's been talked about and all that's going to be talked about, Aaron Rodgers' season-ending Achilles tear. And 4 plays in, and your season is done. All of that hype in the offseason.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. I was shocked. I went to help give the kids a bath. I came back in, and I'm like, what's Zach Wilson doing out there? I thought it was a trick play, like, oh, they're going to do a QB sneak or something. Nope.
Not the case. not the case at all. It is unfortunate, and obviously our best wishes go to Aaron Rodgers. He posted earlier on, I forget if it was X or on Instagram, that his road to redemption begins again. And, hey, we hope that's the case. It would honestly be a heartbreaking shame to see if that was his last time setting foot on a football field. Coming out with the American flag on the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And
it looks really cool.
Getting hyped up, the Jets fans, hyped up. The MetLife is packed to the ceiling. I mean, everything. all the excitement. And hey, the Jets got the win here, but man, is this going to be sustainable with Zach Wilson at the helm? That'll be the question.
And they face the Cowboys next week.
Oh, that's right. Oh God, that is right.
Zach Wilson throwing interception. Oh my gosh, it's going to be.
I mean, you talk about trial by fire.
Yeah, I mean, if they win that game, Sola should be up for Coach of the Year.
Hey, I'd probably agree with that, honestly. And then Zach Wilson probably comeback player of the year. No, that wouldn't be the case. That wouldn't be the case. But boy, if Zach Wilson has a phenomenal season this year, then he's earned it. He will have earned it. He's got some weapons around him to help out with that, but only question is, will he utilize them? And honestly, that offensive line will be a huge question mark too, because yeah.
It didn't look great.
It didn't look great, but there's always room to improve, and it's a long season to improve. So, but that is the conclusion of our Week 1 recap. Sunday, noon game. As I mentioned, the Chiefs go on the road to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a chance to see Travis Kelce and Chris Jones on the field for the first time this season, and I'm looking forward to it and hoping for a big bounce-back game. And then, Monday, it's going down. The second Monday night game, that's right, there are 2 Monday night games, but who cares about the other? We want to talk about the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns.
Which we get to watch together.
Yes.
And we have a bet, so one of us is going to get a free meal out of this deal.
Correct. Yes. If I should have mentioned this during my game, but yes, if the Chiefs beat the Jaguars, I get a free supper from Trajan, and if the Chiefs lose the Jaguars, then I gotta pay for his food. Yada yada, all that stuff. We don't have Skate 3 Tommy to notarize this one, but gentleman's rule, or Scout's honor, everything, all that stuff. We have agreed to this, so that'll be going down. So, but what's some expectations and some hopes going into Monday night against the Browns?
We have a great record on Monday Night Football. Tomlin's usually prepared. Tomlin usually bounce back in these games. So, I'm thinking we win this game. It's not going to be a 20-plus game. It's going to be like a 17-16 grind out, last person to have the ball type game. That's what I'm expecting.
That seems to be what Vegas is expecting too, because I believe the over/under last I checked was 39.5 points. So we shall see where the coin flips in that particular matchup there. So, but on that note, that is our show this week. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Click like if you liked the video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all of your friends, and we shall see you next week for our Week 2 recap. Thanks a lot.
Steelers.
Thanks a lot, guys.